Maybe this is you. You constantly just feel tired all of the time. You wake up and you're tired. You go to bed and you're tired. Well, I guess when you go to bed, you're probably going to be tired no matter what, because, it's the end of the day. But you'll wake up tired, and then all the way throughout the day, you'll just be tired. Every time you try and do something, you feel like there's part of you that isn't quite there. Every day is just a massive slog. Like, you try to go through your life, you're in class, you're doing a project, you're doing work, you have an assignment, or you're talking to someone, and you just feel tired, like fatigue. Like, when you try to focus on what they're saying, it just slips out of your mind. You don't know what's going on. Every moment of the day, you'll feel unpresent. Like, people will be talking to you. You feel like you can't give them your full attention. Everything just feels awful. So a few years ago, I had a very similar situation. I don't think I ever had really bad sleep. I think the worst it got was like consistently sleeping at 1 a.m. But I can say that ever since adding, 3-ish extra hours per night, genuinely 3 extra hours per night makes such a big difference. I mean, obviously it does. I was going from like 5-ish hours to about 8, right? That's a huge jump. My fatigue, my energy levels, my ability to play sports or whatever, it all just improved exponentially. I mean, obviously it did. And I really don't need to pull up a study on why sleeping is so important. I think as a society, we've kind of come to an agreement that sleep is like one of the most defining factors of your life, and is also one of the highest return on investment things you can do. So when you're doing self-improvement, one of the things that you really have to think about is how much leverage, how much output do you get for each input. It's a bit like math, but sleep is one of those things where if you consistently add an hour of your sleep to your sleeping, every single night, the amount that you'll gain for just a single hour more is so much more than just an hour, I guess. Right? You'll get way higher return on investment just for that 1 hour. But I should say, I'm not a doctor, right? Like, I tried all these things. They work pretty well. But you do have to think, this guy's not a doctor. If you want medical advice or you have an underlying medical condition, I can't really be the one to help you with that. Okay, so the first thing would be to talk about deficiencies, specifically like vitamin deficiencies. Because yes, if you have like a certain deficiency in a particular vitamin, then your sleep will be worse. It seems pretty natural that if you're lacking something that's important to your health, then other aspects of your health will dramatically decrease, right? It's only natural. But the reason I don't have much to say about this is because deficiencies are extremely personalized. Like, between people, obviously everyone's going to have different kind of lifestyles and diets, right? So realistically speaking, it's kind of just something you have to figure out. So people like usually would get blood tests, I think, to see if they have deficiencies. I've never done this before, but I have heard from online sources that this is a valid way to improve sleep. So I just wanted to mention it. If the rest of these tips don't seem to work out for you, then maybe give it a try. Okay, so the most obvious, but also the most important thing is optimizing your sleeping environment. So the most important things you can do, you want to regulate the environment, make it like consistent as much as possible. So for example, one of the things that people often get to improve the quality of their sleep are blackout curtains, right? You can eliminate the amount of darkness in your room and you will sleep better. And so by regulating it, it's like a small percent increase, right? If you had to quantify it. So basically, you can do all these little things like adding blackout curtains to make your sleep better. You can reduce the noise, which, I mean, noise can be an external factor, but generally, like, you could get a fan or you could not get a fan, and fans are kind of loud. So maybe consider that fans aren't going to help you sleep. And then the next thing that I can actually personally recommend is getting like some cooling kinds of products. So you can get like cooling comforters, cooling blankets, and cooling like the bed sheets, I guess, right? And it sounds like it would be like expensive technology. Yes, it'll cost you more to buy, cooling bed sheets compared to like regular bed sheets. But there's 2 reasons why I think it's actually not that bad. Number 1, the return on investment that you will get on these is very high. Think about it. Like, how long do your bed sheets last? Probably like years. you know? You don't need to buy new bed sheets every year. You could just reuse the same ones over and over again. So I've had this comforter for a while, and I feel like it's made a big difference in my sleep. Like every time I go into the bed, I'm always cold, and that's because the comforter is has like cooling properties. It's not like it doesn't have some like cool electricity technology. It's just got like the way that the fabric is designed, I guess. It's particularly designed to store more cold air inside of it. I don't know. I don't really know how the science works, but I can tell you it works. Like I go in bed and I'm cold, and that's great. So those are like the little fluff things, like the small impact things. Like they make a difference, but it's not a big difference. By far, the biggest contributor is the time that you wake up and the time that you go to bed. But wait, I thought it was a video on how to improve your sleep. Why would the time that you wake up matter? I actually think that the time that you wake up matters quite a bit more than the time that you fall asleep. So us humans, we're very primitive animals, right? Part of our primitive instinct is that whenever we see the sun in the morning, it kind of regulates our cycles, right? Like we adjust to the sun. I mean, have you ever gotten like jet lag before? Like you fly and then suddenly you can't fall asleep because you have to get used to the way that the sun is changing. I can tell you for sure, the sunlight coming into your brain, well, I guess your eyes, and then by extension your brain processes it, you will wake up and it'll regulate your time. Let's say every day you wake up at 7 a.m., right? That's me. I always make sure I get a bit of sunlight within like the first 20-ish to 30-ish minutes after waking up. Like I'll eat first and then I'll go outside and see the sunlight, right? And when you see it every morning, your body is like, hey, we're supposed to wake up at 7 a.m. And then your body gets used to it. And then as you go into the night, you'll get more and more tired at the time that would compensate for 7 a.m. Basically, the time your body produces an internal alarm, and it'll adjust to that internal alarm, and then you can sleep better at night because you've adjusted to that internal alarm. And then the second biggest thing I can say is always going to bed at the same time every single day. So I think a lot of people, they have this mindset where it's like, oh, well, obviously on the weekdays I gotta go to bed early, and then on like Friday night I'll go to bed at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And on the Saturday, I just gotta get it down. But the issue is that if you keep changing the time that you wake up and like your schedule, you aren't gonna get used to it. Like the best gains on sleep, the times that you become most adapted to it, are when you are very consistent every single day of the week. And I can say that from experience. Okay, and then the next thing I can say is the amount of stress that you have during the day. Now, I don't think of stress entirely as a bad thing. Like, I think that there is some form of good stress, but when you have too much stress, you will not be able to fall asleep. So when you try to go to bed, you'll be thinking about all these things. You'll be processing in your brain. You'll be feeling... I mean, there are so many different ways to cope with stress, but I think the one that makes by far the most sense, like right before bed, is to do some journaling. So if you have never done this before, I promise you it's worth your time. Because throughout the day, you have a lot of like plugged up thoughts, right? Like your brain, it thinks a lot during the day, but sometimes you don't get the time to process some of those important things. So by journaling, by physically writing it down, you kind of get to process through some of the stuff that you're thinking about. And then also, it really helps you, like if you ever gone to bed and you were just thinking about something, you were just thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow, think about what you're going to say to that friend, you're thinking about all the responsibilities that you have. What I recommend doing is journaling, because when you journal, it's almost like by writing your concern on the piece of paper absorbs your concern. So you're still going to care about what you're going to say to your friend tomorrow, but it kind of takes it out of your mind, so you stop thinking about it, and then you can have a more peaceful sleep. And also, when it comes to journaling, never ever do it on your phone. I know people like to do this. I mean, for one thing, if you're trying to go to bed, then you should probably be using your phone less, like right before you go to sleep. But also, doing it on paper, I mean, there's probably scientific reasons, but it just feels so much nicer with a pen and paper. Like it feels way more personal and connected. Like you actually feel like you're writing down your thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to go into the smaller, more niche ones that they make a difference, but your diet. What I can tell you is that if you eat right before you go to bed, it's going to make it way harder to sleep. So don't eat right before bed. Apparently that's why they say don't eat bread before bed. But maybe it's just like my Caucasian family saying that. And then similar thing with water, where like, yeah, if you don't drink enough water or you don't have your electrolytes throughout the day, then obviously like your sleep is just going to be worse. Sleep and water are kind of similar in the sense that both of them are things that have insane return on investment because of how easy they are to do. Like, drinking water throughout the day is so simple, but it comes with so many benefits. And this one comes more personally. I'm not sure how scientifically true this is, but I feel like this is related to the diet thing, I guess. When I was extremely underweight and I barely ate anything, I actually found it was pretty difficult to sleep. That could have been from a million factors, but most likely I'm thinking it's because of stress. Like if your body is like constantly in fight or flight mode because I'm not getting enough food during the day, then you might have some issues sleeping. I'm just saying, maybe. Okay, so I hope that really helped to, if you feel tired all the time, I hope your sleep improves. Like genuinely. Because I hate hearing from people, oh, I only slept 5 hours today. Oh, I only slept like 2 hours. And it's so stupid when people try to one-up each other on how little they slept. Like, you're kind of a loser. Like, it's not cool to sleep less. Anyways, remember that self-improvement is liberation and not sacrifice.